I will start the class in maybe a couple of minutes. So before that, I was seeing a couple of messages that were put up. So maybe I'll just share my screen. Just give me a second. Good evening. So I hope everyone can hear me first. And now I'm going to share my screen. Then you just confirm if you can see my screen also. So then I would also check the messages. Just give me a second. Great. So let me just swap my display. Great. So can you guys see the PPT? Cool. So great. So a couple of questions that I want to answer before we get into the class, which I felt will be better than if we clarify slightly more in detail, right? So the agenda of profile evaluation is to give you a sense of what type of universities and what countries fit for your profile or your ambitions, right? Based on your budget, based on your academic profile and your work experience and the specialization that you're looking for. So is it better that I actually get my exam scores and then book the profile evaluation call, or before that? See, there are both ways things you can do. So my suggestion is first you book a call. As of now, we are not restricting on one or two calls, right? We are okay with one or two for now, right? As long as we can help students within our limited energy within the team that we have, so we'll be happy to do once or twice. But the agenda is that you can actually book, and then even if you upgrade to silver, you can get you should pro the recommendations again. But ideally, the advantage of doing before taking exam is that it's going to help you understand what is a good score that you can aim for to achieve certain set of universities. Let's say your profile can command at a certain set of universities. Let's say University of Maryland, Baltimore County, George Mason University in USA, for example, I'm giving you, and their expectation is 6.5 for certain programs that you're looking for. There's no point in aiming at a 7.5. Anything above 6.5, you're fairly good to clear. So that also gives you a target to look at, what kind of universities can I get into for my CGP and my other academic profile, and for that, what is the required score, so that I maintain minimum that score, so that I actually maximize my profile. So that way, it helps you in one way. Obviously, the ultimate shortlisting will only happen once you really take your exam scores and then give us the final output of your profile, which actually our experts can go through the algorithms that we've built and then sort of customize your universities based on your additional requirements like budget, states that you're looking for, and etc. Right. So 5.5, is it acceptable? See, if you ask me, some universities do accept it. I'm not saying you cannot go for it, but my strong suggestion is you also try to look at Duolingo. If anyone can score 6.5 and above in IELTS, that's the best exam you can take. But if you are getting 6, you're still good with IELTS. There's good number of universities that accept, but 5.5, I think it's going to be very hard to find universities which accept 5.5. So my immediate suggestion is that if you're looking for US, I'm talking about, you should ideally look for Duolingo as an alternative option for me. Right. So I sort of am getting into more and more discussion on a Jan 24 intake, but not given IELTS exam till now. When should I give the exam? I think this is fairly good. I'll stop with this. Right, that's the last question, and then I'll be at the end. You can ask me questions. I'll be happy to answer at the end of session, because I think some of you are attending for IELTS, so let me also get there. The best time is ideally yesterday for spring 24 intake. Your exam should have been done by now, but at least make sure you do not delay it beyond August, right? Because I would say that most of the universities will start to put deadlines from September, October. Okay, you will start seeing most of the universities closing in October, and early applicants are good because that gives you better, leeway or time to actually get your admit, get your item to your CAS or LOA depending on the country, and get your loan processed and then get your visa on time. So for that purpose, my suggestion is if you've already done, great. If not, take 1 month. Good solid effort, clear your IELTS or Duolingo, TOEFL by end of this month, August, and make sure you start applying from September. That should be like the last. The worst is you can apply in October, but don't let it go till then. Just make sure you apply by September. Right. So top universities will expect 8. I would say it's hardly less than 20, 30 universities that I could see in US, for example, which ask for 8, or Canada for that matter. UK, maybe the top 5 universities, I would say. So really, unless your profile really commands that, it has to also match up your profile, right? Just with 8 IELTS doesn't mean you land up in Harvard, Stanford. So I have to look at entire profile to actually give you a sense of what kind of university you can get in, and then what's the IELTS score that's required for them, or TOEFL or Duolingo. And so let's get started with the class. I'll make sure I'll attend the other questions at the end. So I'll also keep it for another 10 minutes of Q&A. So today I think we need to do the session 4, the matching heading part. So what exactly is the mapping headings? I'm going to first talk about it. So you'll have obviously a big passage. So you already completed it. Sentence completion. Okay. So did you guys not do the diagram labeling then? Sorry that I wasn't aware of what exactly was done yesterday. Can you guys just confirm on what topic was done yesterday in the IELTS class? Whoever has attended, because I'll pick it up from there. Otherwise, I might do a mistake in doing it. Can someone just confirm me like what was the thing that was done? Why am I not seeing any answers? It's hard. Okay. So you did sentence completion, which was what question type? I don't really know. Let's. So your okay, you did sentence completion. Okay, this is this 4.3. Sorry. So then you're supposed to do the summary note table flowchart completion. Right. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Swara. Great. Thank you, Shruti. Great. Cool. So let me get into the summary note and completion. Right. So these are all question type 5. Though you have names like summary note table flowchart completion. Technically, these are similar type. That's why we have pulled them into one. So let's start with the summary completion. Before I get to tips, I'll first show you a sample question that what we mean by that. So you will be 4.2. We need to start with. Oh my God. Why are we not in the same page? So okay. So for those of you who weren't aware, maybe the homework questions we will put the key. So I will not discuss the homework questions. Let's move ahead for the next question types. But we will share the key with you. You can comfortably check and see the answer. So I'm sure we would have done 4.1 yesterday. So we are going to get started with the session 5. So I hope everyone is clear with this. If you need the key, we will be sharing the key. So don't worry on that part. And if you have doubts, obviously we can also discuss it later if you've already done it. But let's move to the next question type, which is 5. Okay, so summary note table flowchart comes in. Let me start with summary. See, ideally you will have a big passage. Typically all the passages would be around like 1000 words, 200 words in IELTS generally. The summary would be they would pick up a nice shortened version of this. You are going to figure out the word and then put it in this blanks, right? So it's simple. Summary, what is the meaning of summary? You have like 1000-word passage. I can summarize in, let's say, 100 words. Now they're putting blanks in few places. That's called a subjective type of a summary completion. There's also one more which is objective. We'll discuss about it with some options they'll give you, which I think like this, right? They'll give you a set of words. You need to fill in the blanks. So I'm going to come there in terms of your tips part, right? So these are the two types. So let's get into the tips part, right? So see, obviously the read the given paragraph as it is. The agenda, I would say, is since you have to do a summary, you have to really understand the passage, as in get the flow of the passage. You don't have to understand each and every line. So typically my style, every student has his or her own style. My suggestion or what I would do when I solve a question would be to read a passage in like a very quicker version, like very fastly, to just get what is this passage talking about, what is the structure of the passage, what is each paragraph talking about, right? Don't go too deep into the technical details or the minor details, but quick glance at it. Then based on the question types, we will go deeper into the relevant parts of the passage, right? For summary, again, you definitely have to give a glance to really get a feel of what is this passage talking about. Because in summary, typically they talk about the main idea. What is this passage talking about? They won't summarize last paragraph, which is a little bit irrelevant to the entire passage. They would ideally pick up the main idea of the passage and put you a nice summary. And make sure you highlight the keywords. As keywords as in, let's say I'm talking about this, right? So it's like, sorry. Can you see my cursor? I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. Can you just confirm anyone? Can you see my mouse cursor in it? Okay, great. So if you see this, 1 second. Oh, sorry. If you see this, right? Personal dash belonging to rich people, right? So these are certain keywords that you can find sometimes. It could be a proper noun sometimes, like this. For example, we are talking about this Uffizi gallery, right? So this one is like a proper common noun, sorry, that you can actually use to, maybe I can underline maybe for your ease. Give me a second. Right. British Museum. Sometimes certain pronouns can actually be used to pick up that keyword and then go back to your passage and try to figure out if there is anything written in that that could fit in this blank, right? So that's why Ideally, the other strategy is to go back and pick up the keywords. And obviously, when you're reading, just highlight those keywords. Keywords, how do I decide the keyword? It fairly depends on, your understanding. Obviously, the trick would be to pick up the nouns. British Museum cannot be rephrased into some other museum, right? It would still be called Museum of British or British Museum. So that's where you will be easily able to match the words in the passage and the question, and actually can figure out the relevant piece there in the blank and try to fit it. So that's something, a common strategy that works across the reading. Identify the keywords and try to, just mark them so that you can refer to that and then answer the question. Then the best idea that I would give you is, don't try to read the passage and see which word will fit in the blank. Rather, you yourself guess a word. It could be some word, right? We'll see with an example, but I'm trying to say, just try to guess a word, then go back to the passage and see the similar word, a synonym or almost similar word that could actually fit in there. Because in this way, you won't really get distracted with a, what we call it, a trap. So better that you actually first think of a mind word. Like, let's say Ram is a dash boy. So I assume it should be good or bad is what I think, let's say. Like, that's what the type of word that should fit in the blank. Now I'll go back to the passage and see if something is characterizing or defining this person called Ram, which is a keyword for me. So first I assumed good or bad should be the answer for that blank. Now I went back to passage, looked for the word Ram, and then found out something, that fits there. And then I put in that, whatever is passage talking about, then I would put that word. So that's one way that you should do. And if summary is the last question set for the passage, you may really not want to go back to passage because you've already read the passage for a lot of other questions that you have. So some ways, even if your summary completion is first, maybe you keep it to the end in that question. First, actually do the other questions, because let's say there is a sentence completion question that you've just done, that automatically makes you read the passage multiple times for those particular questions without knowing that you've already invested some time that could be saving you for summary completion. So the best idea is to keep the summary completion to the last in that particular passage, so that for other questions in the same passage, you would have already invested time that would actually let you, not reread the passage again. So obviously you have to complete the blank with the given number of words that are mentioned in the question. Make sure that if it says like, it says one word only, right? Here it clearly said one word only. Don't try two words. Make sure you have to fit it in one word. There's no doubt about it. If it's a subjective, obviously if it's an objective, you don't have a choice. You just pick the option from the blank. I mean, these options, and then you're automatically sorted. But if it's something that is like subjective, you have to stick with the word limit. That's common everywhere. So I'll stop with this. Let's do this question first. I'll give you some time. Okay. So you want me to go slow. So I'll first hold out for now. Let me take some breath. Then we will try to do slow. Okay. So just bear with me with that part. Sometimes I go super speed, right? So, but I hope you could grasp what I was trying to tell. So I'll pause for a while. Take your time to complete this passage, right? Evolution of musics. Okay, I hope everyone has access to this. If not, you can go to the website, and I think Supriya can just put that link also to just access the handout. Take some time to read the passage. Once you are good to go, we will discuss the question and then discuss the answers. I hope everyone is clear. You can give me a thumbs up if you have understood what I was talking or what I'm talking now, so that I know that we're all on the same page. Great. Cool. Okay, I just got a question. It seems it's talking about picking, ignoring the keyword. Is it? Just give me a second. I have to do the double screen. Just bear with me to read it. Uh, hello? Okay, ma'am told us to avoid any keyword. See, I think again, take everything that I tell as the Annapurna ma'am says. It's like we have our own style of solving questions, right? So broadly, the style would work in the same style. Keyword, I think, is a very standard strategy that most of the people would go for, right? If you have a different style, go with it. There's no harm in it. But I would say keyword is something that works for certain question types, not for all the question types. So I'm not sure when Mr. Annapurna has talked about it. It also depends on the question types, I would definitely say. But for certain question types, keywords make more sense. For certain, I think I would also want to not go for that strategy of keywords. But keywords always would help you to understand, to look for a relevant piece of passage that you have to focus on for that question. So again, so I can't really comment. I'm really sorry. I don't know what was the context in which she has used. But again, I would give you a very big disclaimer in general that every trainer and every student has their style. So you just don't worry about it. If you have your own style that you picked up, try with it. We can discuss and solving it, and maybe you can, maybe pick up a couple of tips from here and use it for solving it. A quick recap, I should say I was just talking about the summary completion question. So in the summary completion question, all you have to do is to, there are two types of questions, subjective and objective. So you'll have a big passage, you'll be given a short summary of the passage and blanks to be filled. So you have to pick up a word from the passage that would justify the blank and then just, fill it over there. Right. So I was just talking about, looking for certain pronouns which can be used as a keywords to figure out what is this passage, a summary mentioning about at each line of the blank, and then try to go for that piece of it and try to figure out the answer. And summary completion questions are always best answered at the end of the passage, because the other question types would have pushed you to read the passage multiple times, at least few parts of the passage. That would save you time to actually solve the summary completion at the end, because by then you would have read the passage multiple times, would have comprehended the summary better. That's it. So you can just go ahead and read this passage. I'm not sure how much time we should give, but let's just give me a message once you're done with the questions, right? If you're good to go, we can start discussing it. If I get like 10-15 yes, I would read that most of you have read, and at least 5-10 yes, I would go ahead and start discussing the answer. Okay. I'm assuming Vignesh, the test means you have done it. Right. Okay. Cool. 3. Okay, I need to go to the next one. So you can help with the PDF again. If you can paste in the, you can access it from the handouts part. But I only few yeses. If you can give me a couple more, at least 3, 4 more, I'll go ahead. Not sure if I have given enough time for everyone, but if you have already done it, I would ask you to go ahead and do the other questions also, like 5.1 objective question, and you can go ahead and solve it. Right. Cool. So I think cool. So I'll go ahead. So let's start with this. What's the answer for the first blank? Let me read out in the comments and then I'll go ahead. So the earliest museums displayed personal dash belonging to rich people until the 18th century. Right. And until the 18th century, sorry, only the elite class could visit these places. So this is one sentence that talking about the earliest museums displayed personal something, right, belonging to rich people, personal things or some stuff, right? And until 18th century, only the elite class could visit these places. Okay, it's a collection objects. Okay, fairly correct, but I would actually say that you have to be careful with what you're using. So see, I think this one is talking about the part A for sure, right? Obviously, I guess most of you would agree with that. This is first talking about this part. So if you see this, it says the very first museums of the world are private collections of objects by wealthy people and institutions, right? It's talking about wealthy people, rich people, basically. Even this is what I'm talking about. The earliest museums displayed personal dash belonging to the rich people. So this is something that you can link with. That's the first one, which is what even the first sentence of our first part of the first sentence of the question is talking about. The very first museums are the earliest museums, private collections of dash. So objects is also fine. Even collections is not absolutely fine, but I would say it should have collection because that's something. Yeah, collections is also fine, but I would say the collection is better because you cannot call personal collections, right? Because it's like we are talking about more singular sort of it, because collection belonging to rich people. So collections, if the key says collection, you will not be marked right if you say collections. So either of collection or objects is more appropriate word. Great. Next one. So then the continuation goes, and until the 18th century, only the elite class, as in the rich people at the top classes, could actually visit these places, which I believe is what this one was talking about. Before the 18th century, only elite can actually visit the museums. Right? Up to this part is what the first sentence is already covered. You see, such a big piece was actually shortened in the summary into one sentence. Now, what about the second one? In the later half of the century, the British Museum and Uffizi Gallery opened their doors for the dash. So since I believe it was talking about only rich people were able to go, are the high class. Now they're talking about normal people, or general public sort of. That's what you should really fix for. Perfect. I think most of you are saying public. So because earlier it was only for the rich people, in the later half, later means the second half of the century, the galleries were opened by the British Museum, and so that's where the keyword strategy can work. You see British Museum, most important Uffizi Gallery, you go back to this and you see this one, right? The general public. The first museums to be opened for general public were the British Museum and Uffizi Gallery. So that's why sometimes the keywords of pronouns, proper nouns, my bad. Proper nouns can actually help you if you are talking about nouns, right? And why can't I use general public? Because what is the problem with general public? Can someone correct me with this? If I write general public, it would be marked wrong. Why? Exactly. The question instruction clearly said use one word only. Perfect. Thank you, Sai, Anisha. I have to use one word. Obviously, public is more logical word, right? Not the general word. Correct. So it says that it was open, but not without restrictions. That's what even the passage was talking about. Great. Now, finally, in 1793, the Louvre Museum in Paris was, allowed access irrespective of class and dash. So I said class, and so obviously the Louvre Museum is something that's a keyword. So they allowed people. So you're saying age. Great. That's sounds good. You can see in this, in the Louvre, again the keyword, if you pick the Louvre, you'll see it was opened in 1793 to people of any state and age. Perfect. Awesome. So see, they have already given the class, right? Vigneshwar, the status is wrong because, so you see, irrespective of class and dash. So status is class, right? So you cannot use that. Class is not age. So the passage has used and it is rephrased in a question slightly differently. Any status is basically a synonym word for class, like rich people, middle class, or poor sort of it, right? Age is not obviously the class, so that's why we have to pick age. Perfect. Most of you picked age. I'm very happy with that. And became a key factor in promoting nationalistic emotions. Perfect. So far, the entire two paragraphs have been merged in just two sentences. I've summarized into three sentences. Sorry. Now let's do the last one. By the early 20th century, museums had started gaining recognitions as center of knowledge. Okay. The dash had moved from history to art and science. So this could be again a keyword for me, or you can go in the flow also. So what's the answer for fourth one? So something had been moved from history to art and science. Okay. Museums, technology. No, Isha, that's not correct. So let's see this. It says by early 20th century, museums had started gaining recognition as centers of knowledge. This is now coming to the latest part, right? Let's see where it is. It's talking about here, right? 20th centuries, blah, blah, blah. Cities increased in size, population more than these, these were shaped by public response to education and entertainment. Greater funding was directed. I can't find much of a link here. We have to obviously harm. So I think, okay, so I think this is what the first part is saying. In the late 19th centuries and early 20th centuries, societies began to regard museums as center of production of new knowledge. This is what the sentence of the summary is also, right? Museums started gaining recognition as centers of knowledge. The next sentence says, dash had moved from history to art. So the museums had moved is not the correct one, but it's not a wrong guess. But give me one more word. Museums is not the word. I get that museums have moved, but that is not what is going to fit right in that sentence. What is the word? What has shifted? What has moved? So I've given a hint, sorry. What has moved? Yes. Right, Supriya. So the thing is, what has moved is not museums haven't moved from history to art. The focus in the museums, right? It's the focus that has moved. So you have to understand what was the subject here. If you read this sentence, it's not that historical museums have moved, to art and history, right? The focus has been moved from A to B. So the answer is focus. This was a tricky one. I agree that museums was a very easy trap to fall for, but the thing you have to think through again, right? Museums cannot move from history to the art. It's more the focus of the museums have moved from history to the art. Great. I guess most of you got this wrong, but I think fairly a good trap set. The last one, during this century with urbanization, as in more cities and metros building up, people coming there, and more funds coming in, museums were modified to provide learning as well as dash. So learning is one advantage. Obviously, the other advantage, okay. What's the answer for fifth one? So people are saying entertainment. So let's see, where was the learning part written? The museums have been shifted towards, yes, this is where it is, right? Perfect. Thank you, Sai. So they were shaped by the public response to education, which is basically learning and entertainment. Right? Perfect. I'm happy that everyone, got this right, or most of you got it right. The focus was the one where I think the focus was lost for most of you, but I think that's a good trap to fall for. I believe doing mistakes in the class would really help you to, understand where are the typical traps set and how you can shift, rather not do it in the actual exam. Great. Yes, I agree with that. Cool. Then let's do with this one. Have you guys done this? The objective of 5.1. Okay. So Siddhartha, so the answers, the first one you can do collection or objects. Either of them would be fine. The second blank is public. Third blank is age. The fourth is focus. And the fifth is entertainment. Hope I could give you the answers. If not, you'll get access to key also. Don't worry. But have you guys done this one, the 6 to 9, the part B of the passage? Yes or no? One has to be the answer, right? Oh my God. Okay. That's good thing and easy thing to say, right? No, basically means you haven't done. So let's do something else. Or let's do this. At least you tell me. Has anyone done it? Great. So let's actually skip this. Take it as a homework. You can obviously get back to it because we already discussed. The only difference in this is that now you have options to select from. So you just have to say for sixth blank, it could be dull or communication or information. One of these A, B, C, D, E, F, G is the answer. So there are 4 blanks and they have given you 8 options, 7 options. So obviously not all the words can be the answers. Only 4 out of this 7 can fit in there. But it's pretty similar to this what we did. Slightly easier because you have limited options. So the other kind, I'll move forward. I hope everyone is clear with the summary part, right? Can you just give me Sai, that's what, right? Subjective, you don't have any options. You don't have any answer hints. You have to figure out the answers. You have to put a word from the passage and write it here. It's a simple blank. You have to answer. That's why it's subjective. Objective means you have these options A, B, C, D, E, F, G for each blank. You have to only choose a word from these options. You cannot choose anything beyond it. That's like the biggest difference. And I believe objective is obviously much easier than the subjective because you have hints here. You have to choose just from one of this. Great. Let's move ahead. Everyone is clear? Can we move ahead? Couple more, yes, please. I mean, I see that there are cool. Okay, thank you. Maybe I'm not seeing the thumbs ups for some reason when I open the chat. Uh, so I think again, Akriti, I would say when it's objective, again, don't deal it in any different format than the subjective one. You read the passage, guess the word, just check if any of the options match for it. The problem is, I will tell you in these options, obviously museums would have been an option if I do this questions as objective format. There will be focus word, there will be museums also. See, without knowing, once you look at options, the traps actually trigger you to go for the traps. My suggestion is you have to, try to not look at the options on step 1. First, figure out a word that fits there, look at the passage, then see if that word exists here. If it is, then you are good. You are good to go. You have double check, then go ahead and do it. If not, then go a little bit deeper and figure out the right answer. No, no, no. Lakshit, never create your own word. The best point you need to note for all the, not just this question, any question where you have a blank that you need to fill, be it sentence completion or short answers or anything, never write a word, which is not there in the passage. Please don't do that. Like that'll be a big mistake that people do sometimes, doing a synonym word. He's excellent in math, but you just write good because excellent and good sorts of are synonyms in the context. But obviously the examiner would not count good as the answer. Always make sure you pick the word from the passage. For most of the question blanks type, for every blank question type, maybe in reading, you should always pick the answer. Hope I answered this. So let's move this and then we'll wrap up one more and then we'll call it end of the day. So table completion is very similar. It's just that instead of summary, you will have a short table that's gonna give a summary again. Right? It's like you have certain words that have been certain context for the passage you will discuss. So this passage is talking about disorders. Autism disorder, attention deficit disorder, schizophrenia, depression, right? OCD, the obsessive compulsive disorder. So you just have to, sort of instead of a summary in a passage form, they are just making it a table form. It's very similar. You have to read the passage. We'll do that. Cool. We will definitely share that, Tulsi. We ideally do it in the Telegram group and also share it on a weekly basis, the entire key for all the handouts of that module. So I'll ask my team to definitely make sure we have access to all of these keys. Great. So let's do this and then we'll call it a day. This disorders one. It's slightly longer one, I guess, but let's do it and then wrap it up. One voice. there's something off in the passage. I can't check it now, but okay, that's fairly good idea. I think I also was getting this idea because I think they've clearly classified each disorder. So I think you can definitely do this. So let's first do this one, the autism spectrum disorder, right? So they said autism spectrum disorder. They said the personality trait exhibited is shown by a person who is suffering from this disorder is that they may excel in activities of something, right, of a particular nature. Okay. So let's. So what is the hint again? It is no more than 3 words, right? Keep this in your mind while we are doing this. So it's talking about the autism spectrum disorder. So let's see, where is this? This here, right? Autism spectrum disorder. It is autistic, but more or less this. So children with autistic spectrum disorder have it. Okay, I'm getting answers already. So okay. So I'm getting mixed answers, but I get it. Okay, let's discuss this. Children with autistic spectrum disorder have difficulty understanding what other people are saying, need help to play with other children, enjoy routines, and find unfamiliar situations difficult. People with autistic spectrum disorder can be good at creative activities like art, music, and poetry. So this is where the answer is. I think everyone figured this out. I'm very happy for it. But the challenge is that you have picked 2 different options or possibilities. So let me discuss this again. We say like may excel in activities of a dash nature. You cannot say may excel in activities of music, poetry, and art nature, right? Saurav, even creative activities nature. Try to fill it here and then see if it can be read as a sentence, right? May excel in activities of a creative activities nature. Here already activities are written. If I say book of Jaideep, or Jaideep's book is same, right? Creative activities, activities of creative. So it's the same. So you cannot say activities of creative activities again. So that's a mistake. And activities of art, music, and poetry is not going to club with the nature part. So you say I try to do something more artistic stuff or creative stuff. So that's how people call. So yes, creative is the perfect word here. As I said, Vigneshwar, artistic is not the correct one because there is no word here like that. I just said always pick what's already in the passage. Don't try to come up with a new word. Maybe they make similar sense in the context, but the key will not agree with it. Okay. So never try to come out of the passage, please. That's a very key word that I'll again repeat. Great. So the answer is creative. I guess everyone is clear now. What's the problem with creative activities and art, music, and poetry that you guys have selected? Is everyone clear with this? I need a couple of, okay, great. Cool. So now the second one is talking about attention deficit disorder. May appear dash, right? So see, no more than 3 words doesn't mean you have to definitely pick 3 words. Okay. If that's something that you are confused with, I have given you a choice to select up to 3 words. So not always that you have to have 3. Okay. Attention deficit disorder may appear dash. So let me go here and tell me what's the answer. Just take this and maybe you can start putting the answer. This is the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. They said attention deficit disorder, but that's the only topic that you have. Yeah. I think I just also might have misguided you, but because this entire thing is started off with ADHD, but they specifically focused on this over here. Like from here to here. Right. So this is where the answer should be. Okay. Because this one started off with ADHD, but then they slowly jumped into ADD, right? Attention deficit disorder. So my bad that I misguided you saying that it's the same, but this is different, right? Sorry if you have realized, that's great. I think the answers sound like you guys have realized. That's good. So these children are sometimes described as having attention deficit disorder rather than ADHD. ADD can easily be missed because the child is quiet and dreamy rather than disruptive. So I think any more answers? There are only two answers. Overactive, I don't think can be an answer because, as I told you, this is about ADHD, right? We should, because the question is talking about ADD, attention deficit disorder, which is just a small part of the center paragraph, which is talking about ADHD. Right. The question says may appear dash. So you have to choose what is that. Yes, that's correct. So they may appear as quiet and dreamy instead of being disruptive. That's what it says. May appear as in looks like. So a child looks like he's quiet and dreamy, or he or she is. Perfect. The answer is quiet and dreamy. Fairly good. I have sort of misguided initially, but I think Piru fell for that. But because that was my bad, sorry for that. But I think most of you got it right. Good. What about the schizophrenia? That's a mental disorder again. Schizophrenia may respond to experiencing episodes of the disease by behaving in very dash. Okay, let's get to that part of the passage, which is this one. Now tell me what's the answer. Read this first, maybe we can go back to question again. Okay. Should I move to the question? Maybe a couple of people can tell me if you have read it. If not, I'll be sad. Okay, you already have an answer also. Great, Tulsi. So I hope you have read it. So I'll just move ahead to the question part. Sorry, what happened? Okay. So may respond to experiencing episodes of the disease by behaving in very, different or very, very differently actually. Unusual ways, I think is correct answer. So I'll just go back to this. So he says schizophrenia for people who are suffering from it will experiencing episodes of the disease by behaving in dash, very dash, right? So you say is that they actually a person's experience and interpretation of outward world is disrupted. They may lose the touch with reality, see or hear things that are not here, and act is just behave. No, see one common thing if you have not realized by now, the entire IELTS reading is about rephrasing things. You would see certain words in passage, they would not exactly use the same verb, the common words like the verbs. They would rather rephrase. So if you can identify it, I think you are good to go to answer this actually. The proper nouns cannot be changed. That's why we call them keywords like ears. I can't change 1739 in the passage of Lower Museum to something else in the question. But I can definitely rephrase act in unusual ways by behaving in a different way or unusual ways, right? So behaving is the keyword in very unusual ways. Awesome. The fourth one, the depression may experience feelings of futility. So futile or futility is more like, like I cannot achieve anything. Even if I put any effort, there is not going to be any useful outcome out of it, right? You just sort of feel like useless and waste sort of a feeling. So may experience feelings of futility that lead to the thoughts of dash. So now figure out the answer and tell me in the chat for depression. Minister, I will not say suicide is the answer or not, but definitely spelling mistakes would give you 0 score even if that's the answer. So it's okay in here, but make sure that you, especially I think in reading, you cannot go wrong with spelling because they have given the word in the passage. I mean, it will be very sad if you make a mistake. Listening, at least, okay, you can't see the word, so you have to write from your own knowledge, but don't make the spelling mistakes in that. Okay. Okay. So everyone is sort of saying, that's okay. I mean, I'm not really asking you, but I'm just saying everyone to be careful in the actual exam. So you're saying suicide. Everyone is saying attempt suicide. So Kevin said attempt suicide, which the question says may experience feelings of relief that led to the thoughts of. You cannot say thoughts of attempt suicide, right? Thoughts of suicide, because either it should be thoughts of attempting suicide, but it can't be thoughts of attempt suicide. So that's not the right one. So it should be just the suicide one, right? So where exactly is this in the passage? If you say it says depression describes range of moods and all of that, low spirits, they're talking about it every day, then clinical depression is persistent exaggeration, sadness. If you have severe depression, you may experience low mood, loss of interest and pleasure, as well as feelings of worthless and guilt. This is about that futility, right? That was talking about, futile will lead to futility. So that sort of, you may experience fearfulness, concentration, blah, 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 right? And you may feel like life is not worth living and plan or attempt suicide. So that sort of leads to suicide. Right, awesome. So I think most of you got the answers right. That's very happy to see that. And also, thankful Rakshit and Sai who have posted the answers also for others. Right, so I think we'll end with this for today. So the couple of other types of flow chart, very similar if you ask me. Basically, you will see, a short passage. You just have to do a summary in a flow chart style. Again, same blanks you have to fill. The other type is note compression, which is very similar to, like what we call it, just a summary. Instead of in a paragraph format, they'll use the bullet points, right? So what we can do is you can, get the handout and solve these questions, 5.3, 5.4, and also the 5.1 objective, which we did not do. And that could be discussed next day, tomorrow. Otherwise, you can also access the TMC. And if you have doubts, I'll be happy to discuss things. So that's it from my side for today. And I'll be happy to take up any more questions in general, which were being asked in the first part of the class. Or, even now, if you have about IELTS, about study abroad, about features of overgrad, anything, I'll be more than happy to help you out. So I'll try to stay back for some more time, some like 5-10 minutes if required. If no one has questions, they're happy, had good time. If I have a super speed, sorry for that, but that's some problem that I have when I sometimes speak. I'll speak a little bit fast. Yes, Lakshit, I'll definitely make sure that, you would get the key for sure. If you haven't joined in a Telegram group, make sure you join there, because I'm sure our team is posting the key every day over there. But we'll also put a key for the entire module by tomorrow in the reading module. So you can actually check the answers for all the handouts of reading that we have for the entire module. Thank you, Sai. I also had great time. So I hope everyone got to learn good stuff and had good time solving the questions. Make sure you practice more, because what we have discussed is a couple of example questions. If you apply it with more practices, when you actually start realizing how to avoid the mistakes and get a good score in these type of questions. Gaurav, is IELTS mandatory for admissions in Germany? So we don't deal with Germany, but from my knowledge, I would say maybe 95 to 99% of confidence, I would say. If you're looking for public universities, which is what ideally you should look for if you're going for Germany, you should definitely, take IELTS and score good. IELTS or TOEFL. One of these are pretty much widely accepted, but I would say for public universities in Germany, I would be really surprised if you come across a university which is offering a course in English and then is not asking for IELTS. So I would say you have to take it for Germany. If you are taking it for September 2024 intake, Akriti, so as I was telling earlier also, my personal opinion is, I'll tell you one story that, you all have to realize. So typically taking the exams, even in August and September, you have deadlines till October. People think they can comfortably go for. I'm assuming for US. Akriti, if you can give me country, I can guide you better. But let's say for US, I would say since the last 2-3 intakes, we have been seeing a huge rush with the visa slot issue. I would strongly say if you apply earlier, you would get your admit faster, go for your financials, loan or processing, get your I-20, CAS, LOA. Then, for USA I'm talking about, which is I-20. you actually would get enough time to look for a visa slot and happily get the visa and go for the university. If let's say you apply in October end and you get your admit in November, I have seen a lot of universities, even though they have deadlines set that they're overflooded with the applications and I cannot accept anymore, even though the deadline is open, or if they take also, they don't give you admit because they're already looking at the earlier submitted applications. And even if I get, I've seen few students who could not get I-20 on time to actually book a visa slot. So keeping all things in mind, I would say if you are ideally behaving good, if you have taken your exam by now and start looking to apply this month. Worst case scenario, to be in that good position to not delay yourself, make sure you take your exam this month. Once you are ready to clear all the modules and do well, and ideally you think you should apply at least by September 1st or 2nd week. Parallelly start looking for your SOP, LOR, all of the other things of your documents, transcripts, because universities sometimes take 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks to give you OD, PC, or transcript, OG and parts, right? So don't try to do it one by one. Try to do multi things, right? Otherwise you'll just delay things yourself. Okay, so fall 24, can I know when are the applications opening for this? So Vignesh, depends on what kind of university is looking for. Generally, top universities start accepting from September, October for fall 24. Harvard, Stanford will stop taking by December, but you will see the deadlines in Jan, Feb, March. So ideally, if you are a good student behaving in the right pattern, ideal pattern, you should have your exams. If you're taking GRE or maybe only English test, make sure you have everything sorted by September, October, so that you can figure out the universities and start applying in November and December. Up to January, you are still in right time, you are applying good and you are doing good for me. Personally, I would say you are not missing out on, unless you are looking for certain universities which have deadlines in December. So as in the handout and worksheets are same, Lakshit. I don't know. We have what we show in PPT is what we have in the in the handouts, the PDFs that we have uploaded also, and all of them would have answers. But if you have maybe you can just maybe reply back on WhatsApp from where you get the class reminders. Our team will take care of your query personally and help you out to solve that issue. See, I don't really, I mean, Kishore, maybe if it has happened in the last 2-3 days where I wasn't aware of it, 99%, I don't think TOEFL has been banned by Australia. If they would have done it, it could be TOEFL at home edition. Right? Even that I don't commit. I'm really sorry. I haven't seen any of my news unless I missed in the last 2-3 days. The TOEFL in Australia wouldn't be banned for sure. I am pretty much confident. If they banned, they would have banned TOEFL at home edition, because obviously a lot of people are doing cheating. So universities and countries are being extra careful with that. So that could be the only reason if they have decided to stop. They wouldn't stop the entire TOEFL, but TOEFL at home based wouldn't be accepted. We're seeing some universities and embassy, US embassy also being careful with your GRE home editions and all. So I think that could be the only thing if they've done it. But even that I haven't seen. So I'll just check with my team. And if there is any update, we will ask my team to share with all of you guys if you are looking for Australia. For Lakshit, for UK Jan 24, I would say you can slightly be more relaxed. That is, you can apply till maybe October, November. But ideally, good behavior is try to apply by October, as in the applications what I'm talking about, because the visa is relatively not that tight as compared to US. So you'll have enough time to submit your documents, get your visa on time. So good behavior is apply by October for UK, which means make sure you at least write by September end or October mid for your IELTS and get the required score. And also you can actually start applying, because a lot of UK universities give you a conditional admit. Once you get required IELTS score, your admit is confirmed and you can move ahead, so that you don't delay and waste your time. If you want, you can talk to an expert who can clarify this better for you, so that you can book a profile call and do it. So Sai, it's same whether you do online or offline. So I mean, whatever you prefer personally is what I would ask you to go ahead and do it. It's the same company with the same team, so there won't be any difference for you on how it's gonna done. Obviously, you will find a few things slightly different in terms of explaining things. Again, it's all personal choice. So if you have a doubt, you visit the office and then talk to the team online. Also, see what fits you better and go ahead with it. Ireland, Saurav, I think it is good for certain domains, right? See, US is always the best in terms of making money in the world compared to even Canada, UK for that matter. I would say purely in the terms of the salary part being paid. But let's say if your goal is not to earn the highest amount, but have a good happy and peaceful life, and you like sort of the Europe culture, which is a little bit more relaxed, and Ireland is one of the best places to go for. That's another way to look at things, right? Not everyone wants to earn the highest money. Ireland gives you fairly good opportunities, but again, depends on the domain, right? It's obviously a good place for software, it's a good place for analytics, for pharmacy. So there are few, and this environmental engineering, civil engineering. I've heard that there are some nice courses that they have done with respect to research. So some universities offer fairly good. So Ireland is a good option, but again, you have to understand the pros and cons of the country in terms of you cannot get the salary which is like on par with US or UK for that matter, but you'll be still paid good as per the cost of living there, and you can live comfortable. So it's a personal choice. So that's again individual. So I don't get beyond that. So see, in application requirements, I get to see Duolingo scores are accepted. See, some universities accept Duolingo scores, Vigneshwar. So you can also go to our website and, maybe I'll just share it. You can actually see the filters that we have given. But I think for that, you need to be at least you need to be silver or gold. So if you just go here and, explore the universities in USA, you can comfortably, click on the Duolingo accepted universities and programs, which you can actually, figure out. Let's say you're trying to go for computer science. I'm just saying, for example, you can look at your own thing here in the home page. Click on this, it will start showing all the programs that are, in US. Then you click on Duolingo, you'll find the specific programs which are accepting Duolingo in that university for that domain you're looking at. So which means it accepts Duolingo. And Duolingo is one English exam similar to IELTS. You can book an exam, it costs you around 5,000 rupees. We also do classes for Duolingo. It's slightly shorter format, less than an hour, easier exam than IELTS. The challenge is it's not accepted as widely as IELTS. Every university in US accepts IELTS and TOEFL. Duolingo maybe around 40-50%. So again, as I told you, that's why I was telling you that if you do a profile evaluation call and look at kind of university you can get in and see if Duolingo is accepted and you find that to be easier than the IELTS. You can also take a free practice test here, right? And just see how easy it is or how hard it is. And for you, in general, I would say it's easier than IELTS for sure. But obviously the downside of it is it's not accepted by every university. So if you have set of universities that accept Duolingo, great, you can take it and get the job done. Akriti, I think Duolingo, if you're talking about that SDS, student, they have a different visa process for the student services. That is not accepted. Duolingo is not being accepted there. TOEFL has been added recently and PT is also getting accepted. So IELTS, PT and Duolingo is what I would recommend. Sorry, my bad. IELTS, TOEFL and PT is what I would recommend if you're looking for Canada. And out of the three also IELTS is most preferred according to what I have seen. Duolingo is not something I would recommend for Canada unless you feel that I cannot crack any of this and try to squeeze something, but you will not be eligible for that separate track that they have for the visa, the fast-paced visa track for the students. Okay, for Duolingo I'm talking about. Is it true that it's very hard to get a visa-sponsored company and get an ILR in UK? I'm not really sure about this, Lakshit. So I even if I add a couple of points from my side, could be with a pinch of salt. You take it with a pinch of salt. As far as I know, it's not really hard to get a sponsor. But I'm not really getting your question on it. Like, what do you mean by visa sponsor company? Is it that for visa you need? I mean, if you're talking about student visa, you just need a sponsor. Okay, as in your parents or someone with some funds, FD and all for your visa part. If you're talking about a dependent who is going to travel with you, I think they are trying to make it more harder in the recent times. PhD in UK or Canada, sir, I don't know the person how to approach university. See, PhD is very different, Pratap. Ideally, my suggestion is that you have to see the domain of your interest, go through the universities of your choice, start reaching out to the professors on email, right? Talking about, so ideally, if you're going for PhD, you should have very good academic research background, have paper publications, and try to build a rapport with the individual prof, because that is going to be the person who's going to decide whether you're going to get your admit or not into PhD, right? So the only approach, unlike the master's program, when you're applying for PhD in UK or Canada or US for that matter, you should ideally get your guide correct. So for that matter, do your research, look at the universities, go into the university professors list, figure out the research they're doing and what sort of fits for your experience so far. Write your mail to them, drop your resume, show your interest, And if they like you, they'll schedule a couple of meetings. And if they like you online, then they will say, okay, I'll take, I mean, you have to apply officially, but that is after they really accept you, right? That's how it actually processes. How can we apply for scholarship without GR and IELTS for US universities? How many can up? How can we apply? See, okay, very hard. Okay, so the scholarships part, I would say it's not to do with your GRE. It definitely helps if you have GRE. There's no doubt about it. To be very frank, scholarships right before you go to university are type of three types. One would be your merit scholarship based on your profile. Universities would give you scholarship, which again, obviously, profile means it's your academics, your experience, your GRE, IELTS score. If a university has waived GRE, if you have not taken GRE, they don't consider for your profile. Still, you can have a good profile with all other things, which is your English exam, your academics and experience, and they could give you a scholarship. The other type is a need-based scholarship based on your family income or not. Some universities would ask you proofs and they might give you a scholarship which would cut down your tuition fee. The third type is again private scholarships that you have, which you can apply, like they've tied up, like Stanford has Dhirubhai Ambani scholarship for Indian students. They give you only for 2 MBA students, but they still give it for them. So you have to figure out the university and scholarships and apply individually. But most of the students would get the assistantship once you go there, which sort of saves you money, gives you scholarship or discount in the tuition fee, and also pay you hourly rate, RA, research assistant, teaching assistant, and graduate assistant. That's how actually most of the students do cut down their tuition fee. Scholarships less than 10-15%. Yes, there are few universities like I know University of Detroit, Mercy, Stevens. They sort of give you scholarship for a good number of students based on the profile. So obviously, if you're interested, again, if you book a profile evaluation call, our expert can really understand. If you have a requirement of scholarship or tuition fee, they can give you a list that fits you, and you can decide on it and try it out. MSc or MA, Lakshit, I think there's no difference, lot of a difference you make, because if you say MSc or MA, obviously I assume you're talking about UK, where there's no difference in your visa also. It's all about the course curriculum you choose and what sort of fits you more, what sort of excites you more, take it. From pure job opportunities and visa point of view, either of it is same. But I think you will find a lot more MSCs if you are engineering guy or STEM science guy, science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. But some also give you MFil or MPhil. Right, in UK, you also find MPhil in some universities, which also offers specialization. So it's a choice, but I don't think it makes a huge difference. GRE mandate to good universities in USA, Canada. For Canada, I don't really think GRE is that required. Rarely you'll find universities which ask for it. But for US, yes. If you're talking about, yes, there are top universities which have waived GRE. There are some top universities which ask for it. So again, you have to choose. So if you ask me, right, let's say I can get into 100 universities with GRE. Obviously, you can only apply to 50 universities without GRE. That sort of cuts down some universities which can fit your profile, but they ask for GRE. But if you write GRE, you have every university in this world to apply for in US, which means you have more options to look for, choose for location, fees, scholarship, assistantships, research opportunities. So I personally believe if you want, you can take GRE, but without GRE also nowadays you have a good number of universities you can apply for. But both of them are fairly good. I mean, I'm not saying top universities also waive GRE. Right? You have George Mason, UMBC, you have, even you talk about University of Minnesota, I think North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So quite a few have actually waived off. UT Austin also waived off. I'm not sure for this fall, this spring, but till last intake they did waive off. So you can find if you just do a little bit more research. Scholarship, Jeevan, I said again, it depends on your profile. So I just told a couple of universities, like let's say Stevens Institute of Technology, fairly good rank, but slightly higher on the fee, but they give you scholarship for most of the cases. It's because the fees is high, they also encourage international students by giving scholarships. Detroit Mercy, University of Detroit Mercy also gives scholarship. I saw, UMBC giving $1,000, $2,000 for scholarship. I've seen University of Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, which Southern University of Edwardsville, Illinois, Edwardsville, which also gave almost 100% scholarship to one of our students. So that was more merit scholarship for him. So I cannot say like this is, I can tell you a few universities which should give you scholarship, but I would say more than scholarship, you should choose universities which give you the lowest tuition fee considering all of it and highest returns in terms of your placements, right? As in you get to a better university which doesn't give you scholarship, you can get education loan and actually land up in a good job after that, which basically is much more important than small scholarship that you get from the universities. Cool, then I think I'll end with this more or less. So this one question I'll take and I'll end. Can we do masters in CS coming from different bachelor's degree? Really good question, Vinay. I would say yes, you can definitely do it. All you have to understand is that you can definitely do from different domains, but I would say the difficulty is different. So let's say you did electrical engineering or communication engineering, so that circuit branches in engineering, you have better route than all of the others after computer science, IT, and data science bachelor's guys. Next could be any other engineering students who have done mechanical, civil, chemical. Then you also have BSc computers and all people have done. Again, 3-year degree versus 4-year degree is a challenge. You obviously have to look for it, but fairly a good switch to have. But let's say you've done a pharmacy and looking to go for computer science. That's a huge shift you're trying to do. So every time you try to change your domain from non-CS to CS background, a lot of top universities would say you should have done data structures and algorithms, OOPS, database management, some basic course you do in your IT CS thing, where they would not really give you an admit. So for that purpose, you have to drop down a level or a couple of levels down. Then your profile can command in a direct branch shift, like mech to mech. But rather now you have to compromise on a bit and then you go for computer science. But people do it. It's not really a big challenge. But if you don't come from a science technology background, as in not even engineering, not even basic computer something, doing pharmacy or commerce, I think it's a big challenge. You will really have to find it hard to get some university which accept you. And even the coursework will be very challenging for you, but you can do it. Right, great then. Thanks a lot, guys. So hope ma'am will come tomorrow and she will continue doing the sessions. It was nice talking to you all. Hope you guys are having good time with the classes with us. Right. So no, not at all, Jeevan. It doesn't matter who has supported you in education loan. If you got the education loan, your visa would have no impact on that point. It could be your uncle, it could be your father, it could be a friend. If that loan agency doesn't have a problem in approving them being a valid, co-signer or co-applicant, you don't have to worry about it. You can comfortably clear your visa without issues with that loan part, especially. Right? Cool, guys. So thanks a lot. Wish you all the best. Hope I would get a chance to maybe interact with some of you in future sessions. But otherwise, all the best. And if you have any doubts, do reach out to our team. We'll be always happy to help you out and clear your doubts. Thanks a lot and goodbye and good night. Bye bye. I'll just end the recording.